this is going to be fun. I admit, I was looking at some of the people who are registered and where you're from and what some of your industries are, and it's an exciting thing because I love the influence and having a positive impact in the world. And what you're going to learn tonight isn't just a marketing tactic. Definitely not a tactic at all. This is business and career changing. It's something that will really help you take your expertise and transform it into thought leadership, where people see you as the go-to authority in your space. So without further delay, let me share my screen. I need to bring up the right screen. Okay, perfect. So it looks like it went black. Why did it not show the right screen? Let me have to reset that and try that again. Why is it showing black? Not good. I do this all the time, meaning I use Zoom all the time. So let me try it another way. Aha. That's why. Okay, that'll work. I had two Chrome browsers open. I was picking the wrong one. All right, so we are talking about YouTube, but this applies to a lot more than YouTube. We're also talking about Google, and we're talking about ChatGPT, and ultimately domination. Now, that can be a negative word, but I mean it in every positive sense of the way. I'm going to teach you how to dominate YouTube, Google, and ChatGPT, and I'll show you some examples of what I'm talking about. And my Zoom controls are they seem to be in my way. I don't know if you see those or not. But here's what I mean by domination. So you've got dream clients out there, right? You can picture them in your mind, these people that you would love to work with. Maybe you've had several of them and you would like more people just like them. Well, what are they doing, right? They don't know that you exist, but they need your help. And so what they do is they're going to Google, they're going to YouTube, they're going to ChatGPT, and they're searching, they're asking questions, they're trying to solve their problem, they're trying to accomplish a goal or overcome a challenge. All right. And what I mean by domination is when they're searching for these things, I want them to find you. Now, I didn't have a picture of each one of you, but I put my client Jason Schroeder there to represent you. So anywhere these people, your dream clients, are searching online, I want them to find you. All right. And you're going to learn how to do that to make sure that you appear right in front of your dream clients. So we're going to start by talking about YouTube, and then you'll understand how this works on Google and ChatGPT as well. All right. So let me show you some examples of how this works. If you go to YouTube and you type in how to get business credit with poor personal credit, you'll find Noel Randall ranking right at the top. Okay. So pay attention that that's a long, specific question. But also, if you just type in this two-word phrase, now we also have Noel Randall ranking at the top. Okay, here's a long question. What's the role of a superintendent in construction? And Jason Schroeder is ranking at the top. But now, if you type in construction management, you'll also find Jason ranking at the top. Okay, so here's a long question. 10 things you should never say to your child. There's Paul Jenkins and Nicolene Peck. Both of them are clients of mine that are parenting experts. If you type in two words, there's Nicolene Peck at the top. Disciplined teenager, there's Nicolene at the top. Now notice how long these two titles are. How to discipline a teenager who doesn't care about consequences. That's 10 words. 10 words long. You're going to understand the secret is long words or long questions. How to become a politician, we find Jay Townsend ranking at the top. Become politician. It's a fun one. I mean, he just dominates. Buying vacant land in Florida, you find Brent. Our fixed indexed annuities, you find Stanley Nudie Man. You ask that question, you find Doug. You ask that question, you find Michelle Villalobos. Ask that question, you find Ted Thomas. Type in that question, you find Laurel Langmeyer. That question, you find Dr. Carrie Ann Perkins. This one, you find Chad Littlefield. This one, you find Reagan Archibald. Notice it's a one-word search there. All right, so why domination? Why do you want to rank at the top of YouTube? I mean, maybe parts of it are obvious, but really, what's the end goal? Okay, we want to do this because our goal beyond that is lead generation. Right? The whole reason we're using YouTube is we want to generate leads for our business. We're not worried about the ad revenue. We're not worried about YouTube subscribers and becoming an influencer in the popular term. We really want to influence the world through our business. So our goal is lead generation. So what does that look like? Well, when people go to, just move myself out of the way there. When people go to ChatGPT, YouTube, or Google, and they type in questions and they find you, okay, they're going to watch this video and you're going to teach them. You're going to answer their question, and then you're going to offer them a free gift. And so they go to your website and they give you their contact information in exchange for that free gift. And they haven't felt like they were being sold to. They didn't need to put their defenses up. They weren't annoyed or interrupted. They sought you out. You gave them value. There's trust there. And so when you generate leads in this way, these are like referral quality leads. All right. Okay. So now let's just talk specifically about why do we start with YouTube? Because YouTube domination actually equals Google and ChatGPT domination. You're going to understand why that is. YouTube is the hub that if you really leverage YouTube, then you can dominate search everywhere. I'm going to go into more detail on that now, actually. Let me stop sharing my screen. So anywhere that you post content, is that content indexed and searchable? Well, let's talk about some places. You can post content to Facebook. It could be a video, it could be an article. And is that searchable by topic? Can somebody go to the Facebook search bar and type up a topic that you might have addressed in your article? Would Facebook show them your article? The answer is no. What about your video? Nope. What about LinkedIn? LinkedIn is kind of disappointing because they've been getting worse at being indexed and searchable. Go back a few years ago, and articles were considered different than posts. Posts are meant to just be viral and short-lived, but articles were meant to be long-term, like more evergreen. But LinkedIn's been burying articles, and you cannot search by topic on LinkedIn. Same with Instagram, same with any other social platform such as X, TikTok. I don't know a lot about TikTok actually, but shorts don't do well for building a relationship. All right, so we're talking about YouTube. How is YouTube indexed? Well, YouTube actually transcribes every single word of your video, completely indexes it so people can search for it by topic, and it knows, your video is indexed so quickly that you can post a video and the very next day it'll show up in the top of search, which is pretty handy. And so YouTube's the number 2 search engine. It's just by volume because there are more searches and more visitors to the Google website itself, and Google owns YouTube. Now, Google has changed. Google used to be, this is going back quite a while ago, Google used to be a website search engine. And you might be wondering, if it's not a website search engine, what is it? Well, if you go back 2015 and prior, so a decade ago and prior, it would show you websites. It was a website search engine. Today, it's a content search engine. It's not interested in saying, hey, go to this website and sending you to the home page. It's interested in content only as providing an answer. And if you do a Google search now, you find the AI overview, you find ads, you find YouTube videos, of course, and you find blogs. You'll find Wikipedia, and you'll find blogs, which are content pages on your website. It wants to go specifically to or directly to content. And answer engines, like we talk about AI and people are throwing out new terms like instead of SEO, now it's AEO or GEO. So AEO stands for Answer Engine Optimization. GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. Those are quite different. Okay, when you use, say, ChatGPT or a graphics AI tool, it's really using a lot of creativity to generate something. Or if you have it write a poem for you or something, it's generative, right? That's GEO. answer engine optimization is kind of the opposite. It's not making stuff up, but it researches and finds the best answers that are already out there. So if you have expertise and people go to ChatGPT and are asking questions, it will give a quick answer. But if people are wanting to go deep, well, then it's going to grab videos of you and blog posts and Wikipedia and Amazon product links, and it's going to share those with the person doing the research. It's going to give the real answers to them instead of generating it. So yeah, basically what you're learning tonight, which I call the leaf strategy, you'll understand why I use the leaves with my tree analogy. But the leaf strategy that I've been following and teaching for about 13 years now, it's basically evolved into the modern form of answer engine optimization. We're at the cutting edge. It works really well. All right, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Okay, make sure I share the right one. Okay, and I did. So that's why YouTube equals Google and ChatGPT. All right. Let me take you behind the scenes in YouTube Analytics. All right. So this is Chad Littlefield. He's a really good guy. And this is a screenshot of a 28-day period. And we're looking at the traffic source report. And look down here. I think I've got it. If I click, you'll see highlighting. Okay. So in a 28-day period, Chad had 81,000 views on his channel. That number is great, but we want to drill down to get more accurate. And we'll see that YouTube search accounts for 18,000 of that. Now, that 18,000 is the most valuable part of that 81,000 views. So 18,000 found Chad's videos by searching. They're asking a question. They might be asking a question, in his case, about running a meeting or icebreakers or conversation starters or things like that. He's at hosting a meeting. He's really good at those type of things. What is external? External shows another 24,000. Well, if I click on external, it gives us a breakdown of all the different things that add up to external. And you'll see that Google search is at the top. So in addition to the 18,000 views from search from YouTube search, we have 15,000 from Google search. So that's awesome. Super valuable. That's what we want. We're not looking for the viral traffic, which is usually suggested or browse. We really want search. And notice we're getting data now from ChatGPT, which is pretty cool. And I'll go back and I'll just say one more comment on that. So those views, the adding up to approaching 400, those are views that ChatGPT has said, hey, you should watch this video. And so the person that's on ChatGPT goes to YouTube and watches the video. And so that's pretty cool. That's fun that we get to track that. All right, now I want to give you some data, like the list of the world's biggest websites by visits. How many visits, does Google get? And I guess I don't have the numbers on the screen here, but Google is ranked number 1, and YouTube is number 2. Then we've got some social sites like Facebook, Instagram. I'll just skip down to Twitter because that's social as well. Oh, it's amazing that ChatGPT is number 5. I mean, in my reality, it's only been around I've only been using it for 2 years. I think it's been around for 3 maybe. Probably longer than that, but that's just when I started to hear about it. And to think that it's the 5th most visited website is pretty amazing. Okay, so some more details about ChatGPT. When ChatGPT refers or recommends another website or link, Amazon is the number 1, products, e-commerce type links, 9%. Wikipedia is in there, and then YouTube. So that's pretty cool. And if we drill into YouTube, you'll see, okay, what type of videos is ChatGPT recommending? The big majority is education, 27%, but I would say is science and technology also education? Maybe. If it's not entertainment, then it's probably education. How to and style, I would say, is probably education. So I would group those 3 together Anyway, you can look at the list there. But needless to say, a big percentage of recommendations from ChatGPT are going to YouTube educational videos. So now I want to introduce you to my leaf strategy and teach you my tree analogy. The analogy is pretty simple. That takes what might be a complex idea and make it simple. That's the goal. So with a tree, you've got the broad trunk that goes out to the branches, that goes out to the leaves. And the trunk represents your core area of expertise, right? What do you want to be known for? If you could own your niche, what would that be? What's the trunk of your tree? Well, the branches represent all the different ways you could categorize your expertise, right? And then the leaves represent very specific questions that are on those branches. Now, you don't want to make videos on trunk topics. You don't want to make videos on branch topics or even limbs if you divide them down. You only want to make videos on leaf topics, which are, again, the very specific questions. So let me show you several examples in different industries. All right, so let's say you're a human resources expert. On the human resources tree, there are thousands of questions. I just picked 2. All right, so here's a couple. How can we improve recruitment and selection process? And how to restructure a company to increase profits? I did not make these questions up. I just did research, and I found that these are questions worded this exact way using this exact spelling. These have consistent search volume every month. It's not huge, but it's a consistent trickle, and that's what we're looking for. If we want to dominate the human resources tree, you've got to dominate one trickle at a time, and eventually you'll get the whole fire hose. All right, if you're a nutrition expert, here's a couple examples of leaves. How to calculate nutritional value of a recipe, or how to carry nutrition during a marathon. It's a fun topic. If you're a motivation expert, how to overcome lack of motivation to exercise, or how to get motivated to clean when depressed. All right, if you're a life coach, how to manage work-life balance for a woman, or how to transition from teaching to another career, right? So just before I move on to the next example, again, I didn't make these questions up. There are thousands of leaves on each of these trees, and I just picked a couple examples, and the goal is we don't want to make up questions or make up topics. We want to find what questions are my dream clients asking when they go to Google, YouTube, and ChatGPT. All right. So I know several people that are attending tonight are leadership experts. And so I just did this search. Actually did this search last week, but I typed in leadership style, and what do we come up with? So this would be on the leadership tree. Leadership style would be one of the branches. And we find Simon Sinek at the top. We find Brian Tracy ranked number 2. And we find, I'm not sure who this woman is, but her channel Self-Made Millennial. So these are the top 3 that are ranking at the top of YouTube right now. And if you're a leadership expert, you might want to rank right here. I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, and I'll show you specific to this example, and hopefully it's helpful so that you can follow along. All right, so I'm going to introduce you to a tool. And this website is called SEMrush. SEM stands for Search Engine Marketing. They've been around a long time. A lot of their tools are still geared towards the old form of website SEO. But the specific tool, the keyword magic tool, it works perfectly for our purposes. Now, the tool isn't cheap, but I can give you a 2-week free trial, and you can get a lot done in 2 weeks. You can even map out your entire year so that you don't have to subscribe if it's, if you don't want to keep it long term. So I'm going to demonstrate this. Oh, the free trial is herokeywordtool.com. I didn't put that into my presentation, so you'll just have to memorize it or write it down if you want that 2-week free trial. It's herokeywordtool.com, and it will take you to a page on their website, and you'll see my name to know you're in the right place because I'm an affiliate for them. Now I am. All right. So let me zoom in and let's type in leadership style. What happens when you use this keyword magic tool? We type in leadership style. You'll see something that you might see on familiar websites such as Answer the Public or a lot of the Google Google AdWords keyword tool that they used to have. But this tool has some additional features. One is I want to turn on the questions button. So I do that, and you'll find that there's actually still 3,000 questions, 2,952 to be exact. I'm also going to come over here to the Advanced Filters tab and turn on a word count filter. So I'm by default, I'm going to turn that up to, I always go at least 8. And in the last couple of years, I've been going to 10 a lot more often because as people have been using, ChatGPT or Google's AI overview, we know that the more we type in, the better results we get. And so anyway, so watch what happens. I turn on the questions button. I turn this word count filter to 8. So now I'm only going to be shown questions that have at least 10 words that contain the words leadership style. And let me zoom in on the results here. I'll just highlight a couple of them. How does leadership style affect one's actions and behaviors? I mean, that's worded so specifically. There's 10 words there, of course, and it has 210 searches on average per month. Now, this is a little bit big. Now, you might think that that's small, but trust me, you want even smaller than this to get the most momentum. In fact, I'm going to hit the back button. Let me find it. Let me go back to right here. So see where it says total volume, 28,000. So for leadership style questions, there are 28,500 searches a month. So that's what I want you to own. I want you to dominate this branch as an example, which is going to mean that you're going to get 28,500 searches per month for these questions. All right. Now, what I'm going to show you now is the pathway to do that. And you've got to turn on your word count filter. And let's just go through some of these leaf titles, and then we'll talk more about the search volume. Okay, what leadership style focuses on making decisions without consulting others? Or what are the different types of leadership styles in business? How do leadership styles and power distribution impact change readiness? And these are a mouthful. These are all so specific, and each question here, that would be a unique episode. So this would be the title of an episode. Scrolling down, here's some more. When is a directing leadership style most appropriate to use? That would be its own episode. Which leadership style focuses on developing people for the future? Which style of leadership works best with an experienced staff? Or how do cultural differences and ethical considerations affect leadership style? Now, I'll move my face here because you see that this has still got 10 searches a month. Now we're getting to the gold. All right. It's just crazy that people are typing that in consistently 10 times a month. The reason this is gold is you can picture who these people are. You know whether they're your target audience or not because they've typed in so much. And if they click your video, of course they're going to watch it all the way to the end because this was exactly what they were searching for. And I went to the next screen. There's a few more. What does it mean to have an autocratic leadership style? What type of leadership style focuses on creating emotional bonds? Which leadership style is task-oriented, driven, charismatic, and enthusiastic? And which leadership style shows a top-down decision-making and management style? I mean, there's so many questions. And over here, you see some 10s and you see some zeros. Now, the zeros don't mean 0. The zeros mean less than 10, and a 10 means between 10 and 19. That's just how the keyword magic tool does it. So if you do find a good question that has a 0, go ahead and pick one or so. But ideally, I set 10 as my minimum, and I set 10 as my starting point if you want to dominate the branch. The 10s are the easiest to rank for. And once you rank for the 10s, go for the 20s. Once you rank for the 20s, and what these numbers again represent is all of these questions on the screen that show 10. There are 10 people every month on average typing in this exact wording and spelling for these questions. Now at the top, we saw, this is just scrolling up to the first ones we looked at. We see these that have 210 searches a month, or 140 and 50 and 40 and 30. So we obviously want to rank for all of these. I'm just saying don't start there. You're going to understand in a minute what I mean by turning a no into a yes. But you want to dominate the 10s first, then the 20s, then the 30s, and then go after the 210 here. All right, think of it like a staircase. Of course, we want to get to the top, right? But when you climb a staircase, how do you do it? Do you start with the top step? The answer is no. You got to start with step number 1. So again, start with the 10s, then go to the 20s and 30s and 40s and so forth. Remember that. All right, so now I'm going to explain how, because I'm a visual person and I love organizing everything that I do in a spreadsheet. So I know spreadsheets can be boring, but if you can be excited about this for a minute, this is really cool. So this is one that I did almost a couple of years ago, and I'm going to show you some recent ones as well. This is for my client, Noelle Randall. She teaches real estate investing. And we found this branch. So let's say the trunk of the tree is real estate, and then it's on the investor branch. And on that branch, there's the become and several others. Notice over here, there's a yes. So if you look at the top, February 10th of 24 is when I did this first search. If we type in either of these two questions that say yes, that means we typed in that question and Noelle's video appeared at the top. Now, the ones that say starting, we did not find Noelle at the top, but we had to scroll down a bit and we still found her in the top 20. So we call that starting. And then if we list it as no, that means we did not find her in the top 20. And I'm going to move my face out of the way there. All right. So that was on February 10th. Well, by April 18th, you can see the filming dates. This is the filming date. We filmed several of them in February, some in March, some in April. And 2 months later, we had turned 2 yeses into 8 yeses. And by May 16th, even more yeses. By July 3rd, even more yeses. So this is the path to domination. Let me show you one in a different industry. This is for Jason Schroeder. He's a consultant to the construction world. And I'll also introduce you to my scoring system. So you'll see in this column on July 11th, when we did this search, if you add up I give a yes a score of 1, and I give a starting a score of 0.25. So in this case, if you add up all the 0.25s for all the startings, that adds up to 3.5. And the 34 represents, I found 34 leaf titles, okay? 34 topics that we're going to address. And notice the word count here. This branch didn't have any 8s, 9s, or 10s when I did the research. So we started with the 7s at the top. And all right, look at the dates here. September 10th, that score went up to 12, then 22, then 33. And basically, we've just maintained that domination the whole time. I last did this search a week ago on December 3rd. All right, this is a brand new one. This is a really good branch. Also, it's a great example, too. This is for my client, Reagan Archibald. He is a peptides expert and men's health expert. And I don't know a lot about any of that, but tesamorelin is a peptide, I understand. He understands a lot about it. And so we found this branch, and back in April of this year, he did not rank for any of it. You would type in tesamorelin, and none of his videos showed up. But by May, he showed up in a few places. By June, a few more. By July and August, kind of maintained that. But by September, up to 22. October 34, November 36. When I checked this a week ago, we are up to a score of 40, and that's out of 45. So we're pretty much dominating that entire branch now. So you can see the pathway, and it's pretty cool. I mean, take a look at I don't know if you can see my mouse very well, but how to dose tesamorelin. That's down to a 4-word phrase. He hasn't made a video on it, and yet he's ranking for it, right? We started at the top with those that are the longest, that have low search volume. And you just step after step, you start turning those no's into yeses until you dominate the entire branch. So the question I have for you is, what branches would you like to dominate? And I'm not expecting you to like know that, but maybe I'll just ask, like, would you like to dominate some branches? As I think I have some more examples here. Okay, nope. This is there's a reason I'm showing you such a huge crowd of people. Okay, so this is obviously a football game. I'm not familiar with the Tennessee Titans. Forgive me if you're a fan, but I have been to a BYU football game. I'm an alumni of BYU. All right, so I know in that stadium where I went to college, I think there was like 60 or 65,000 seats. This looks like an even bigger arena, so I don't know how many people are here, maybe 80,000. Imagine speaking. What if at halftime you had the opportunity to speak to this group for 10 minutes? All right, that would be a pretty cool opportunity. If you've got a fear of public speaking, I can understand that. I used to have that too. But just pretend for now that you don't have a fear of public speaking and you had a message to share. But now I want you to stretch your imagination a little bit further. Instead of you being the halftime show, imagine if you were the main event. So there's no football game going on, but there were 60 or 80,000 people that knew who you were or were interested in your subject matter. They had questions and they were looking for your kind of help, and they came to hear you speak. That would be a powerful event. Do you think you would get some clients from that? Probably one or two. All right. The reason that I bring this up, oh, by the way, this is my friend Dan Clark. I was just searching for speaking in front of a large group, and I saw a picture of him, so I thought, oh, there's Dan. All right. Live on Purpose TV is, he's Paul Jenkins. He's a positivity psychologist. He's also a parenting expert. And this is a 28-day period. And notice YouTube search volume is 62,000. So just people searching on YouTube, that's like an audience of 60,000 people in this football stadium that Paul gets to speak to. And it's not just a halftime show. These are people that have searched on YouTube and they found his videos. So that's a significant amount of influence. Here's another one. Noelle Randall, her YouTube search volume in this 28-day period was 84,000. It's just amazing. It just think about the impact that they're having. All right. So now you should know what I mean when I'm talking about turning no's into yeses, right? That's the goal. And it's so easy to track. Now I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. So let me stop sharing my screen. Tracking a no turning to a yes makes a lot of sense. Do I rank? No. Do I rank now? Yes. Okay, good. There are tools out there that are built for YouTube, such as TubeBuddy or vidIQ, and they have some strengths, especially if you're wanting to, entertain and create more viral type content. But they have a tool in there that's called their SEO tool or their SEO score and their SEO recommendations, and they are fake. It's unfortunate. Maybe they didn't used to be fake. If you were to rewind back to 2015 and prior, then it was probably helpful back then, back when website SEO was a thing. Here's what I mean when I say they're fake. Any of the videos that I've shown you ranking at the top of YouTube, when you plug it into their tool, like you can have a Google Chrome plugin, it will tell you an SEO score. So I have videos ranking number 1 on YouTube, and it will give me a score of 36%. And I can follow their checklist. Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. And then it could give me a score of 100% if I follow all their checklist. Chances are, though, it wouldn't affect my ranking. Maybe it would hurt my ranking. I don't know. But those things just don't impact anything. And so, you've probably tried those things in the past and not seen any results from it, even though your scores were great. So I'm just giving you a warning that's why I've had to create these spreadsheets and stuff, is because the tools out there that track your ranking are worthless. Okay. I'm having fun. All right. So now let's discuss what the 5 ingredients are. I've kind of hinted at the first couple of them, so I want to lay them out so you know the recipe. Oh, and I want to discuss one more thing. In fact, I can turn off my screen here for just a minute. And let me talk about this. I'll go to the next slide, which is a whole bunch of pictures, and then I'll turn off my screen, and then I'll come back. Okay, so Daryl Leaves in the top left corner. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy. And he is a marketing genius, and he's a YouTube social media genius. He wrote the book, The YouTube Formula. It's blurry, but if you look down here at the bottom of his book, it says forward by Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast, or Jimmy, hired Daryl back when he had about 1 million subscribers, and Daryl took him big time. Daryl's strategy works, and that's not just a fluke. Daryl has done that for many, many dozens of YouTube channels. Okay, so I bring that up because it's not that there are two different paths, and it's not that one path is bad and the other is good. It depends on what your end goal is, all right? And so in a moment, I'll just do it with my slides, actually, since I've already done that. All these other people here, several of them are my friends. Some of them I've only seen online. But these are all self-professed YouTube gurus, right? They're YouTube experts, and they're giving YouTube advice. Some of their advice is better, like Daryl's, and some of them is not as valuable. But they all kind of point the same direction as Daryl, right? And what is that path? That path, and I will. Okay, so I stopped sharing my screen. I've got Daryl's book right here. It's a great book if that's your goal, and I've got my book. By the way, book 2 it's done. It's in editing, and it should be published February, something like that. If your goal is to become a YouTuber as your career, you're going to become a full-time YouTuber. Your goal is subscribers. Your goal is view numbers. And the reason that's your goal is because you make money through YouTube advertising and sponsorships. This is the YouTube formula strategy. My strategy and the Leaf strategy that you're learning tonight is for a business that generates revenue by helping clients with their services and whatnot. And we're leveraging YouTube for lead generation, like we've been talking about. We leverage YouTube to show up in search on YouTube, Google, and ChatGPT for lead generation. We have our own career. And the reason that I bring up this is to let you know that there are two different paths to success. You need to pick one. They kind of compete against each other. If you follow some of the advice on this strategy, when you're trying to follow this path, it'll actually backfire. I can give you a lot of examples, and vice versa. You should not focus if you want to follow this path. Don't worry about keywords. Don't worry about these questions. You want your videos to go viral. And all right, so I'm going to actually break it down a little bit more clearly because it is important and helpful. All right, so I've made this nifty spreadsheet again. I'll comment on some of these, but I'll try and be really, really quick. All right, just to showcase that the strategies are drastically different, and you really need to pick one. So the number one focus of each, you're either focusing on ad revenue or lead generation. Over here, you want subscribers. Over here, you can subscribe to the channel if you want, but our main focus is we're growing our email list. That's what our focus is. Let's see. Content type over here is entertaining or storytelling, whereas our content's much easier. We're educating. It's really low efficient over here. Sometimes it takes all week to film a single episode, where for us, it's very high efficient. We typically film 20 episodes in a single day. Traffic source you want over here is suggested. We want search. Let me skip down to this one right here. If you wanted to generate $10,000 in revenue and you were following the Daryl Leaves YouTube formula, viral strategy, you'll need about 1 million views. Now, there's some variables that might make it higher or lower than that, but we'll just call that a good average and a realistic average. You want $10,000, then generate 1 million views, and you got it. If you want $10,000 over here, it's pretty realistic to do that with 100 views from search. Not 100 views from suggested or browse, but 100 views from search, like I've been showing you. All right, and you can, if you want to take a screenshot of this, go for it, right? Or whatnot. So hopefully that is helpful. Okay, so let me come back to this as I give you the other ingredients of the leaf strategy. So let me just show you one more example. Let's say you're a productivity expert. One of the leaves of many that I found is what can increase productivity in a dental office, or how to improve productivity on a construction site. These are awesome. I love these topics because you know exactly who you're talking to. A person that's a productivity expert can share a lot of amazing things about productivity, but how much more valuable is it if a dental team finds a person talking directly to a dental team, or the construction team finds a productivity expert talking directly using their lingo, talking about their job sites and whatnot. Now, one other thing that I've noticed is look at the wording of how these questions start. The dental one starts with what can increase, and the construction one starts with how to improve. Why are they worded different? I have no idea. That's just the data. These are the questions. This is the wording that people use the most consistently. So you don't make up the titles to your videos. You dig, you use the keyword magic tool, and you find out what wording are they using, and that's what you answer. You answer those questions. All right. So ingredient number 1 is you need to choose a target branch. I need to just piece a few things together so you know what I'm talking about there, okay? So, on this tree, there's different branches, and you need to pick a branch to focus on. So we're going to pick this green branch here, the one that I've colored green. So let me come back to Noel Randall. The branch I showed you earlier when I was introducing it to the no's and the yeses was actually this one. And I've colored it green on the left. This one is gray on the left. They're very close branches. This one's the real estate investor find, and the other one is real estate investor become. Now, I had been filming with Noel for several years already, massive success, but we were looking for new opportunities. And I found these 2 branches, and I showed them to Noel, and she said, all right, looking at the find branch here, she said, I think I've filmed a couple of these before, but now that I see these questions grouped together like this, I realize this is not my target audience. So I don't want to worry about this branch anymore. But then she saw the become branch, and she said, this is awesome. I want to dominate this entire branch. I want to rank for every single one of these questions. So we got to work like I showed you, and we turned, oh, by the way, this is the find branch, the one that she didn't want to dominate. And on February 10th, 2 years ago, you see she had some traction. She had some traction on that branch, but she realized it's not the branch I want to dominate. And so the one that she did, we started with the 2 yeses that turned into complete domination just after a few months. Okay, so you need to hone in and find the branch you want to dominate, set aside the branches that aren't important to you. Ingredient number 2 is you want to film every leaf on the branch you want to dominate, and start with the 10s, just like that staircase, right? Start with the low-hanging fruit, the low-hanging leaves, we could say. Okay, ingredient number 3 is you need to give them a lead magnet. So this is a free gift. By the way, these videos you're not selling. We'll talk about more of that with ingredient number 4. You're not selling. You're not talking about yourself, your company, your brand, your programs. You're just answering their question. But then you get to the end of the video and you say, hey, now that you've learned blank, I have a free resource that's going to help you implement it. So go to my website and get this free gift. And so they go there. And so that's what I mean by a lead magnet, is a free gift. Ingredient number, okay, I already showed you this spreadsheet, but yeah, or it's image. All right. I'm not going to confuse you. Okay. Relationship video is ingredient number 4. So I'm going to go into a lot of detail on this because it's really talking about what's the style of these videos, or what do we need to include in them? How long should they be? So here's Nickling Peck. A relationship video has several components of it. One is it's a talking head. That actually makes things easy. We want to build a relationship. So if we can talk to the camera and make eye contact like I am with you now, and it's as if we're having a FaceTime call or a Zoom call. That's what you want to think about your YouTube video as, so that you can just really teach and they can learn from you, and they're not distracted. You don't have to worry about entertaining them. You want it to be conversational. So by that, I mean not scripted or not using a teleprompter. Right now, if you want to script your intros or script your call to action, I've started to do that, and it's a great thing. But that might be 20 seconds in the beginning and 20 seconds at the end, or less. But your content, don't script it. Just outline your talking points. And I'm using bad grammar when I need to pause and think for a minute. It's natural conversation, so it feels more like a conversation. Imagine the reverse. Imagine you're on Zoom with somebody, just a one-on-one call, and the person you're talking to was reading from a teleprompter. That'd be really weird. So you ask a question and then they answer you through a teleprompter. It's just it would be really awkward. So yeah, do the opposite. In your YouTube videos, just be conversational, just answer the questions, and it'll work. The average length that you want your videos to be is about 10 to 12 minutes. We could spend more time explaining why, but you can ignore YouTube Shorts. I continually do tests when YouTube comes out with new features, and it's just not worth your time. If you're following the Dara Leaves strategy or the viral strategy, Shorts are pretty awesome. You can go viral much quicker. All right, feel like taking another tangent here. I'm going to tell you a story about why you don't want to go viral. Viral can actually kill your YouTube channel. So here's the story. On the Nate Woodbury channel, many years ago, channel was going strong. I was talking a lot about entrepreneurial topics and YouTube strategy topics. Well, I made a video titled "Why I Hire People in the Philippines." It is a leaf title. And that video took off. It was liked by my audience, but it was liked even more by a new audience. These are people in the Philippines. They loved that I was talking about their country and their people. And many of them commented wanting me to hire them. That video took off. It got millions of views. And I made more Philippines videos, and those videos did really well. And over a period of time, I added several tens of thousands of subscribers to my channel that were not my audience. And so guess what happened? When I would post a video about YouTube strategy or about entrepreneurial topics, entrepreneurship, they didn't like it and they wouldn't watch it, or they would click on it and leave immediately. And that tells the YouTube algorithm, your audience does not like these topics. You should talk more about the Philippines. In fact, my friend Dara Leaves told me, yeah, Nate, you should talk more about the Philippines. But I ended up, it ended up really, really hurting my channel. I would say killing my channel. I eventually deleted all that content. I moved it to a different YouTube channel, and it did really well on its own. And trying to redirect the Nate Woodbury channel has been really, really painful. And so I've done that. It's taken me years, but I've also launched other channels that I haven't made that same mistake. So if a video goes viral, you might want to consider deleting it. All right. So I'm going to come back in and share again. So we're finishing up ingredient number 4, which is a relationship video. And we were talking about 10 to 12 minutes. All right. Video length has actually increased over the last few years. So if you go back 3 years ago and you look at the average length of videos on your favorite channels that you follow and compare it to the average length today, you're going to find that most of them have about doubled in length. So we're talking videos that were used to be 15 or 20 minutes. They're typically 30 to 40 minutes. Some channels I've seen, instead of doing a 5-part series, they'll now connect it all together and make a 90-minute video. Those are just performing better. Okay. So even though people are telling you that people's attention spans are short or shorter because of social media, I will say it just depends on the platform. If people open up YouTube, if they're interested in looking at shorts, then yeah, let them watch shorts. But if they're looking for real answers, 10 to 12 minutes has become the sweet spot. It's a good time that will allow you to really give them a solid answer to that really ultra specific question. You'll be able to give them a good, thorough answer, enough to where you really help them. And it's enough time to build a relationship. It's likely that they're going to watch more than one episode. Okay. The next part of a relationship video is I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get to the point where you can film 20 in a day. It's a lot of work, and I love batch filming because it makes things way more efficient. It's a 9 to 5 filming day, but even for most of my clients, we're launching 5 episodes a week for them. And how do business owners with a crazy busy schedule, how can they become a daily YouTuber? Well, if you film 20 episodes in a day, that means you're only film once a month and you're a daily YouTuber. So there's practical reasons for it, and also there's a lot of other reasons we could go into. Start with what's realistic, but that's the goal that I recommend you get to. Every episode needs to have hooks. So I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to give you an example. I'll first demonstrate what not to do. Okay, so this is not my topic or area of expertise. This is from my friend Doreen Spackman, who's a nutritionist. So I'm just going to start out with the intro of what not to do. Okay. All right. As we dive into this topic of how to get rid of strep throat without antibiotics, you're going to need 5 ingredients. You need some garlic, fresh garlic. You need some raw honey. You need some cayenne pepper. And if you mix those 3 things together and take that, it'll wipe out your strep throat. So now let's talk about it. All right. So that's the bad example. Let me see if you can tell a difference between that and a better example. All right, as we dive into this topic of how to get rid of strep throat without antibiotics, first we're going to be talking about why not antibiotics. And there's some reasons you might want to consider an alternative. Then we're going to be talking about the 3 ingredients. You probably have these ingredients in your kitchen. We're going to go to the kitchen. We're going to show you how to make this, mix it, and dosage conversation. And then I'm going to wrap up the video talking about a side effect that you're going to experience. My son, when he was really young, he had a high fever and he had strep throat. We used this remedy. The remedy worked, but boy, did he experience that side effect. So let's dive right in. So did you see the difference? In the second one, I set hooks of curiosity. All right, let's come right back. All right, you also need a call to action, and we've talked about that. We typically give two different choices of a call to action. You're either going to recommend, now that you've watched this video, here's the very specific next video that you should go watch next. Or now that you watched this video, I have a free gift for you. I recommend not asking them to subscribe or to like or to comment. Now, there are exceptions, but I would say never do that at the end of your video. The exceptions might be mid-video somewhere. If you're talking about something and you're bringing up a topic that's like, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do you like option A, or are you more of a B person? Go ahead and comment below, because I'm curious. All right, and then you just get back going. When you get to the end of the video, invite them to watch another specific video and give them a reason, or offer them a free gift that will help them implement what they learned. That's, if you want to generate leads, that's what I recommend. And then this is a big conversation, custom thumbnails. Thumbnails are a lot of work. You can go into Canva. They're not so hard to design. And AI, there's AI tools that can help with this. The hardest part, though, is a thumbnail needs 2 skill sets. You need design and you need marketing. Some tips I'll come back to sharing in just a second. We're getting close. Some tips on thumbnail design is when you know the title of the video, right? We find that out first, even before we film. So we know the title of the video. You don't have to repeat that on the thumbnail, because the title and the thumbnail are always shown together. So you can put different text on the thumbnail that will add to it or make it create more curiosity. It could be, contractors never tell you this, or I don't know, five traps to avoid, right? So it's got to relate to your content, but you can have fun with your thumbnail. So the reason that I say that thumbnails are hard and challenging is just because they're essential, and your competitors have gotten better and better. Those people that are ranking at the top of YouTube right now, they're using custom designed thumbnails. So there are a lot of tools. You can split test now on YouTube. Don't stress about it too much. I would just say start out and give it your best guess. We use Photoshop. Canva is a great tool. It's free. And you can design good thumbnails. You can follow templates. You can see examples of thumbnails that your favorite channels use, and you can start there. When you upload a video and give it a custom thumbnail, then that video launches, YouTube will give you data, and they'll tell you what your click-through rate is. And let's say the average for your channel is 5%. So if you launch a video and you notice, this has a click-through rate of 3%, well, then go ahead and replace it. There's no problem to replace it. And if you see one that's at 10%, think, why is this one doing so well? And learn from it, right? So that's my recommendation about thumbnails. But they are an essential part. Okay, so ingredient number 5 is to play the long game. And what I mean by that is this is a long-term strategy. You can get results, as you've seen. You'll start turning your no's into yeses within a few months, and you'll start generating leads within a few months. But if you really want to become the go-to authority in your space, if you follow this for a year or even a couple of years, your business will completely transform. And so I invite you to really commit to that. Now, how many episodes should you launch with? Well, what's realistic? What can you be consistent with for 1 to 2 years? You heard me talk earlier about a lot of my clients doing 5 episodes a week. Some of my clients do 1 episode a week. Both of them are having different levels of success. But the more content you put out there, the more ways people can find you, and the more leads you're going to generate, and the more business revenue you're going to have. But if you start out launching 5 episodes a week right now, but a month or 2 from now you can't sustain that, then I would, YouTube doesn't want to see you decreasing. So start out with 1 or 2 episodes a week and stay consistent with that. And if you want to accelerate from there, go for it. All right, so I want to talk about what can you be prepared for? What holds people back from actually implementing this, or what holds people back from success with this strategy? Really, it comes down to the effort. A lot of people realize, okay, wow, I've got to wrap my head around this strategy. It makes sense. I want it, but it's a lot for me to do. Then I've got to hire a filming team, or I've got to, figure out the camera gear myself. I've got to put all the time into the editing, and the thumbnails that I've just talked about, or, the filming location, or coordinating schedules and blocking out your day for to film those 20 episodes. That's really what holds people back, because it's like, you know what? I'm busy. How am I going to integrate this in? This all looks good, but, I don't know. I don't know if I can do that. Maybe one day, maybe next year. That's it. I'll have room in my schedule next year. So if that's you, I just want to let you know briefly, that's why I've created my done for you solution, my services. What that looks like is, basically we do everything for you. We help you pick the topics. We help you pick the branches that you're going to dominate. We schedule a filming day. So you'll fly into Utah, or you'll fly into Florida and film in our filming house and work with my team. So you come to our studio, we take care of everything, make you look amazing. And then we take care of all the editing, the thumbnail design, the launch. So basically you show up, you deliver your content that you know best, and then we take care of the rest. So if you would like to have a conversation about what that looks like, then you and I can just jump on a Zoom call. So that's my calendar link. If you go to callnate.net, we can have that conversation. And, we'll be looking at a couple things. First, we're going to look at, is this strategy a fit? Is it a fit for your business? And what realistically can you expect? When should you expect leads to come in, and what type of revenue numbers are realistic? And what would it look like for us to have a done for you service? How many episodes a week are going to be right for your scenario? So I look forward to having that conversation. Go to callnate.net. Even though we're heading into the holidays now, I do have some availabilities. We lead up to that. Obviously, I'm going to pretty much take the whole week of Christmas off and travel and whatnot. But we're heading into a new year, and this is a good time. If you want to start looking at 2026, where do we want to dominate YouTube, Google, ChatGPT? What's going to happen in 2026? I look forward to having that conversation. Once again, go to callnate.net, and I will see you there.